Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and I am checking my volumes for Nick Burafedo at Link2 because he hates it when I do that. So I was going to tell you, I just checked. Link2 still has some of that. They were talking about Cerebrus, the AI chip maker, and I just checked. There was a little bit of it left on the platform. If that was something you saw that you were interested in, it's linqto.com. It is one of my sponsors. Check it out. This guy came out of nowhere and he's all optimistic about XRP, and I like how he words some of his tweets. You're not ready for how wild things are about to get for XRP. Time is running out. Well, I tend to agree with him on that. I think this real USD thing is going to make things quite interesting. Ask Tether. Stuart, out yesterday, Gary Gensler was in front of the Appropriations Committee. This guy's think about this. This guy has sent lawyers multiple times to lie in court to federal judges, and now he's sitting in front of Congress asking for like $2.something billion to give him money to run the SEC. I wouldn't give him $1. I mean, and that's what the problem is, folks. The fact that they're even talking to this guy about giving him money. What you do, just like a child is the way he needs to be treated, you say, no. You clean up the SEC, and then you come talk to us about money. And the problem is, in order to clean it up, he's got to quit, because he is the problem. Stuart Alderati was not happy. Gensler repeated his crypto is a bunch of Wild West lawbreakers nonsense, despite SEC court losses, bipartisan rebukes in Congress, and the votes for 50 million plus crypto holders at stake. Gensler remains committed to killing crypto in the United States. This is, and then Mark Cuban, who somehow thinks that Joe Biden should be elected, even though the guy doesn't even know where he is, and he's taking craps in his pants on stage. I mean, this shows you how controlled half of these people are, folks. I mean, this guy, if Mark Cuban was just some normal thinking guy who was thinking for himself and acting on behalf of himself and wasn't a part of some political machine, he'd be laughing about how ridiculous it is that someone like this is even running, just like you and I are. Mark Cuban says Gary Gensler could literally cost Joe Biden the election because of all the young voters that own crypto. If he has a political career in mind, he's done, Cuban says of Gensler. Well, yeah, Gensler's part of the problem, but Gensler works for Biden, and Biden is literally crapping his pants on stage. Biden ought to cost the election all by himself. So stupid. All of this is so stupid that we're even having these conversations. Now, Ryan Selkis, this is Gary Gensler in front of that Appropriations Committee. He says patriots are in control.
Working on other things as well, of course.
Well, let's go back to how you prioritize resources, because instead of staffing resources outside of the remit, which I think that full litany of rules that I just read are outside of your boundaries and outside of your remit, you're also not prioritizing staff, and you're not prioritizing rulemaking for areas that desperately need it. And here I'm talking about setting in place a constructive set of rules of the road for the crypto industry. This is an innovative industry. It's an industry that the United States should be leading on. Yet other jurisdictions in other countries are setting up rules for their ecosystems. Yet what happens here with the SEC and with the...
No, if I'm Senator Haggerty, I say, yeah, and we need a framework. Why are you meeting with George Soros, Gary? George Soros wants to destroy the United States. George Soros specializes in destroying countries' currencies. Why are you having meetings with George Soros? What are y'all talking about? I've seen it on the calendar, folks. These are the kind of things I'd be asking him.
TC is constant roadblocks and a lack of certainty. And what's happening is that this innovative industry is finding itself increasingly pushed offshore. I don't think that's the result that we want to have here in America. And I certainly think a far better allocation of resources, rather than putting it against the private funds rule or predictive and data analytics rule, would be to focus on setting in place rules of the road for innovative markets like this. I want to take, for example, the years-long process that it took to approve Bitcoin's ETF. And that only happened recently. And it happened in the wake of a court finding that your grounds for disapproval was warrantless. And I'm just very puzzled that in light of the most recent court ruling, why we haven't fully approved the issuance of Ether ETFs. Chairman Benham, I'm going to turn to you. Is Ether a commodity? A yes or no answer will do.
Yes.
Chairman Gensler, same question. Is Ether a commodity?
Senator, we actually, as an agency, did approve Ethereum exchange-traded
Only
products.
partially. It's not, the approval is not complete.
Well, we address ourselves to the
Here's something you could say, Congressman. Hey, Gary, you get $0 unless you tell me right now, yes or no, whether Ethereum's a commodity or security. Tell us, Gary. You want the money? Tell us right now.
in front of us, and we approved it. And
so you're saying that all Ether applications have been approved by the SEC that have been
the
granted?
Ethereum exchange-traded product of filings that were in front of us from stock exchanges, I think there were 8 or 9 of them, were all jointly approved. Individual issuers still are working through the registration process.
Okay, enough of Gary. I will play you this 45 seconds, though.
Thank you. Chairman Gensler,
Could I just say,
on that?
one of the real challenges is that these crypto tokens are transferable outside of the traditional financial sector on what's called permissionless ledgers. And so one of the real challenges is it's not as easy to apply the anti-money laundering laws. So, for instance, Bitcoin is the token of choice by ransomware attacks. I mean, that's the, pay us in.
Now, let's put this together, folks. The Treasury Department is saying that Tether is being used by terrorists, and now he's saying that Bitcoin's the main one being used for ransomware attacks. Now, let's add those together. What's been pumping the price of Bitcoin? Tether. What does Brad Garlinghouse say the government's about to go after? Tether.
Bitcoin.
What would that do to the price of Bitcoin?
And you can imagine there's a whole cottage industry in Eastern Europe preying upon U.S. companies.
All right. Now, this is interesting right here. You got to hear this. This is from Riz XRP. You need to check this out. Here we go. This is David Schwartz. What's going to drive the value to XRP?
But our first question is around, really what's going to be driving value to XRP, particularly kind of around the cross-border and sort of more like enterprise payments and financial use cases.
Yeah, so you guys can all see the question on the screen. I think the big thing that's gonna keep XRP in its central role is its privileged place on the XRP ledger. XRP is the only token that you can pay transaction fees in. It's the only token that every account can receive. The payment engine entering pathfinding always looks for XRP liquidity first, and XRP is auto-bridged through the order book, so XRP liquidity is sort of preferentially taken over to other types of liquidity just from order crossing. So XRP is always going to have a special place as a sort of liquidity tool on the XRP ledger. In the payment space, I think XRP, because of high speed, low cost, and the sort of lack of things like MEV and block producers who are trying to tax transactions, it's going to remain a good intermediary currency for international payments. Ripple's going to continue to use it for cross-border payments, where it works well. We're not going to make our customers use an inferior solution to make us happy. It's on us to make XRP, be a viable solution. But again, the big thing, I think one of the things probably motivating this is the launch of the stablecoin with the idea that one will cannibalize the other. I just want to make a point that the current use for XRP is a tiny fraction of the things that people could be using it for. The market is so early and we can't, it's impossible for us to cannibalize ourselves. It's like if if an ecosystem is 1% of what it should be, trying to fight over that 1% is just, that's not what's going to happen, right? We want to grow the pie, and I think there's lots of room for XRP to grow, and there's lots of room for a stable coin to grow and to be used, in different use cases. There are some use cases where volatility is absolutely fine, and of course, in some use cases like the AMM, where volatility is actually a plus. Particularly for cross-border payments, you don't have to hold the asset for very long. So if you're thinking, well, I want to use an asset for cross-border payments, but I don't want to be exposed to its volatility, there are plenty of entities who consider exposure to XRP volatility a net positive, right? Like there are people, like if you wanted to have exposure to any cryptocurrency, whether it was XRP, Bitcoin, Ethereum, if you wanted exposure to it, you would generally pay for that exposure. That's why people hold Bitcoin, right? They want exposure to the upside. They pay for that upside. And so if you're worried about exposure to both the upside and the downside in payments, there are any number of parties who will gladly take the upside and the downside, together. So it's not a barrier.
That was an interesting dialogue right there. Wanted you to, you know what? I might skip that one because I wanted to show you a couple of things from, this is from Apex.
This is new caliber.
This guy right here is the Archex CEO, and Marcus Infanger on stage.
Between Archex and Ripple. What does it mean specifically for all the XRPL users and developers here in the room?
Working with the traditional players is a challenge. So we've kind of gone down the route of build everything yourself. So we've got the custodian exchange, and the bit that was really obviously missing for us was the tokenization. So we decided to build our own tokenization engine. And within that, we built the functionality we think is needed for securities. We've known the Ripple team for some time now, and we've always kind of liked the technology as well. So we've decided to implement it into our tokenization engine. What that means in terms of a product is everything we're doing is available on XRPL.
All right. Then we had, this was, I forgot her name the other day, so I'll tell everybody her name now. Her name is Jazzy Cooper, DeFi Products and Ripple. In my old age, sometimes I just forget people's name, but here we go.
Think about mass adoption.
All righty, I'll wrap it up with, this is like a wrap up 40 seconds of Apex, and it's cool. You can see the whole setup.
We welcome host the 4th annual XRP Apex Summit. We need products that real people actually have. But our primary goal is to bring more people into it. What a crowd.
All right, in DAIXRP.com, we're going in the All the World's a Stage file. It's a pretty, if you like the All the World's a Stage file, you're going to want to come in here for this. DAIXRP.com. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, tell your friends and family. That All the World's a Stage file sure is interesting sometimes. Here we go.